problem very seriously. I did not want this disease. Why is there disease? I can't read up. Okay. Is it not possible to become free from disease? He never thinks that way. This is because his intelligence is very low grade, just like that of an animal. An animal suffers, but it has no sense. If an animal is brought to a slaughterhouse and sees that the animal before him is being slaughtered, he will still stand there contentedly eating the grass. This is animal life. He does not know that next time it will be his turn and he'll be slaughtered. I have seen it. In a Kali temple, I have seen that a goat was standing there ready to be sacrificed, and another goat was very happily eating the grass. Similarly, Maharaja Yudhishthira was asked by Yamaraja, "What is the most wonderful thing in this world? Can you explain?" So Maharaja Yudhishthira answered, "Yes, the most wonderful thing is that at every moment one can see that his friends, his fathers, and his relatives have died, but he is thinking, I shall live forever." He never thinks that he will die, just as an animal never thinks that at the next moment he may be slaughtered. He is satisfied with the grass, that's all. He is satisfied with the sense gratification. He does not know that he is also going to die.
Okay, Prabhuji, thanks. Next paragraph. Somebody can read. Okay, so then I'll read. Mataji, yeah.
My father has died. My mother has died. He has died. She has died. So I will also have to die. Then what is after death? I do not know. This is the problem. People do not take this problem seriously. But the Bhagavad Gita indicates that there is real education. Real education is to inquire why, although we do not want to die. Death comes. That is real inquiry. We do not want to become old men. Why does old age come upon us? We have many problems. But this is the sum and substance of all of them.
The sages of India had
Yes, Mataji, what
the
happened? Some
first
problem?
line I'm unable to read, sir, because it's gone in that.
Is it okay now?
Just let me just see now. Just a second. Just a second, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
The sages of India had developed a different kind of civilization which enabled them to know themselves. They had discovered that we are not at all material entities, but that we are all spiritual, permanent, and indestructible servants of the Absolute. But because we have, against our better judgment, chosen to completely identify ourselves with this present material existence, our sufferings have multiplied according to the inexorable law of birth and death, with its consequent diseases and anxieties. These sufferings cannot be really mitigated by any provision of material happiness because matter and spirit are completely different elements. It is just as if you took an aquatic animal out of water and put it on the land, supplying all manner of happiness possible on land. The deadly sufferings of the animal are not capable of being relieved at all until it is taken out of its foreign environment. Spirit and matter are completely contradictory things. All of us are spiritual entities. We cannot have perfect happiness, which is our birthright, however much we may meddle with the affairs of mundane things. Perfect happiness can be ours only when we are restored to our natural state of spiritual existence. This is the distinctive message of our ancient Indian civilization. This is the message of the Gita. This is the message of the Vedas and the Puranas. And this is the message of all the real Acharyas, including our present Acharya Deva in the line of Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah, adapted from the Science of Self-Realization, chapter 2 and 5. Thanks, Mataji, reading. So that is what actually we are going to discuss today. So Okay, so first paragraph is talking about the three kinds of sufferings. Three kinds of sufferings are there, right? Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautik, and Adi Devik. So, what is Adhyatmik Klesh? So these are known as the kleshas, actually, three kind of kleshas or three kind of sufferings. So Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautik, and Adi Devik. So anybody wants to try what is Adhyatmik Klesh?
It is our own intention, inherent intention of knowing something, like not having interest at all in spiritual matters, or inherent deficiencies, m- temp, temperaments.
Okay. And Adi Bhautik, anybody want to
Adi
try?
Bhautik is
Yeah. So basically,
Adi, yeah.
yes, Mataji, tell me.
Adi Bhautik is, from environment, really, worldly problems like this disaster, like corona disease, or any of the worldly obstacles to um, our pathway.
Okay. So yeah, so basically I'll try to reiterate. So the three, one is Adya. So basically these are, see, everybody has a different kind of sufferings, right? So there are two parts actually. There are four defects in the material life, and there are three kind of suffering. Okay, the four defects are, anybody knows the four we have discussed it, Janma Vritti Adi. Okay, so these are four defects of the material life. So which actually nobody can escape. That is birth, death, old, and within our life we have kleshas, right, troubles or sufferings, which actually are caused by three different sources of sufferings. Okay, so the first source of adhyatmic self, right, adhyatmic. So adhyatmic means that difficulties which actually is caused by oneself, for example our own or our mind. So basically these are, disease like some health problems, right? Somebody is suffering from some disease, like, so like it can be any disease actually. It can be just some flu, or no, it can be somebody suffering from a terminal disease like cancer. What is any disease which, so this is a trouble which is given by our own body to us. So this is an adhyatmic klesh. Also mental suffering. So some, because of our disposition, like, like everybody is a different individual, right? So we have different mindsets. So a particular, so different people who are put into same condition may react or may suffer in a different extents based on their actually their background, their upbringing, and maybe, even genetically, whatever we call actually. So essentially this is because of our past karma, right? So everybody takes birth in a particular situation. Like if somebody is born to a particular father, particular mother, a particular place, a particular environment, based on our past karma, based on the last life or many other lives created for the living entity, and that is why, our parents are actually selected, and then we take birth, right? So based on this, based on this, actually we may have a disposition that somebody may be very weak in mind, somebody may be very strong in mind. So some people actually under a lot of stress. See, sometimes mental stress is much more than the physical stress. So even the mental problems actually, give a lot of pain to the living entity. So whatever it is, whether it is because of the physical problem or mental problem, actually the living entity suffers. So this is adhyat, which is caused by ourselves, right? And the next is adi bhautik. So adi bhautik is that difficulties which are caused by the other living entities. Okay, adi bhautik. So other living entities may be, for example, it can be as simple as our some of our relatives, or no, or in the office we work, our managers or bosses, or no, or it can be our spouse, right? So because of various stages in our life, actually other living entities will give us trouble, right? So we may have a fight with somebody, right? Sometimes our children also becomes a source of pain for us actually. Like, let's say some children, they actually, they become what say, like, they actually don't grow up as per your expectations. They may fall into some bad habits, right? Or let's say your daughter is married, and after marriage there are a lot of problems happening because of like the spouse or their parents, right? So whatever be the case, see, in general actually it is very difficult to become peaceful in the material world. At every stage of life we will have different problems. When we are children we have some problem, like we don't want to study but we are forced to study, right? Then now after that actually we want to get a job, and then we want to get married. Then after getting married, we want to have children. Then we want the children to be in a good position. So like that, the life keeps on going, continuously. And every point of time, there will be some problems which is actually caused by other living entities. The problems caused by other living entities could be also like coming from other animals. For example, some dog is biting you. We are just going for a walk, dog comes and bite, or even the mosquitoes not allowing you to sleep. Or so any other living entity in the material world which is causing you trouble is known as Adi Bhautik. So Adhyatmic is the difficulty caused by our own body and mind. Adi Bhautik is those difficulties caused by other living entities. And the third one is called as Adi Devik. So the word actual Devik means it is something which is beyond our capacity. So Adi is actually those kind of problems which are caused by the nature, material nature, for example. So traditionally people used to know like the way the Vedic concept, different forces of nature are controlled by different devatas, right? For example, rain is controlled by Indra, right? Then is Agni, Varuna, like Surya, Chandra. So there are different demigods, and it was told that in Vedic scriptures it was told that the people used to conduct different yagyas to satisfy the demigods. And then, for example, getting rain, there are some yagyas. So similarly, different. So when the demigods are not pleased, then actually there can be no calamities also happening. So essentially, the demigods are considered as just like servants of the Supreme Lord. Like the Supreme Lord, see, if you take like we have a government in the Karnataka, for example, Karnataka there's a government, right? There's a chief minister, then there's a set of ministers with different portfolio, and then there are different officers who are going to implement the decisions, right? And the police officers, different parts. So basically, this is the government structure. If you take central government also, it's similar structure is there. So similarly, in the universal government, actually, the Supreme Lord is the topmost person. Like you can consider like a president or a supreme authority, and all the demigods are just like the different servants or no different officers to conduct the different affairs. So the thing is that, and there are material laws. Actually, we know, right? The law of karma is one example. So similarly, the material laws of nature are there. So when actually, for example, one of the things which acharyas used to tell is that when actually when there is a lot of sinful activities in the human society, for example, there is indiscriminate killing of animals, for example, slaughtering the animals to great extent, right, which actually is very rampant in today's world, right? So most of the people in today's world, they are very highly hypocrites actually. Sometimes it is because of we discussed there are 4 defects in the living entity, right? One of them is cheating propensity, and this cheating propensity is not always necessarily that the person who is cheating is fully aware that he is cheating. He just assumes that okay, I know everything perfect, and then he acts accordingly. But actually, if his knowledge is imperfect, then actually indirectly is misleading the people, and it is a cheating. So similarly, why people are hypocrites is because, for example, in the US recently, I think they passed a law which actually prohibits cruelty against animals. Okay, so and some of the states had this law earlier itself. Now I think they have actually adopted in other states also. So, but at one time they say that actually this cruelty of animals. They say that, for example, if you mistreat a dog at home, let's say a dog or a cat actually, and you harm it, then actually you may be put in, like who lawmakers and everybody, right? They are actually continuously consuming meat. Where actually there are hundreds of animals and thousands of animals which are slaughtered day in and day out continuously, right? So this is a real hypocrite behavior, right? Because how can they say no, you should not be cruel to animal, and then there is no problem in killing the animals in masses? So these kind of things are actually kind of one way. It is highly what you call deplorable actually. And then I don't know, like many times people they are not aware, or I don't know, they're not able to think about it. It's not clear. So the point is that if you commit so much of sinful activities, killing the animals, especially killing the slaughtering the cow is considered as very very sinful. So these kind of mass sinful activities will actually naturally attract kind of mass kind of problems, right, which we are actually experiencing nowadays, right? The nature's wrath, nature's way of showing the problem actually, right? So the kind of epidemics and the kind of other natural calamities which are happening. So there is also a concept of collective karma, right, which also is there. But I'm not really an expert in this thing. But essentially, the scripture says that no, so every reaction which happens, no, nothing happens actually without the will of the Lord, directly or indirectly, without the knowledge. It is told that not even a blade of grass can move without actually the Lord's will. So generally, the Lord doesn't interfere in the material affairs. Now, how the material world is conducted, because this particular earth is actually very, very insignificant, right? And then spiritual world, material world is very small compared to the world. So material is by the laws of material nature. Like we have discussed earlier, actually, there are Trimurtis like Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, and the Durga who influence. So the material laws are there, and automatically, once the laws are put into place, it automatically works, without the Lord's direct supervision. Right. So these things are actually happening. Like, so people who are not having much spiritual knowledge, they immediately lose their faith when some things like this happen, because they are not able to understand why it is happening. They just think that, okay, how can the Lord be so cruel, or no, why so many, everybody is suffering. No, even they may, apparently it may appear that, okay, even people who are believing God, they are also suffering. Somebody is dying, so they immediately think there is no God actually, which actually is only because of limited and superficial knowledge. So right, so because we are bodily concept, we think that no, living here, somehow living here for long period is actually very important for us. But because as we discussed last time, right, just like the body changes, I mean, the body changes within our one lifetime. At the time of that, we are just accepting another body. It doesn't matter actually which body it is. This lifetime or bound in the material world, birth and death actually, that's today, tomorrow, that is only different. But ultimately, what is important is how can we go back. That is what is important actually. So if somehow or other we survive today the epidemic, no, and then we live for 100 years or 120 years, what is the use actually? Ultimately, if you don't attain perfection, no, in the human life, then actually it is not, there's no point just living for a very long period. It is not really much useful. So these things are a little difficult to understand, in the beginning. But actually, if you just have faith and no, we gradually make progress, then actually our faith and faith will become more and more firm. Okay, I think I spoke more than what is necessary for this paragraph. Any points here? Anybody wants to add any comment or any thoughts?
Yeah,
Okay.
Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. Mataji.
The all these things, like whatever the problems we see for suffering, right? It is the main reason is our ignorance, isn't it? It is mainly due to our ignorance. Like for if you see our current bodily, if you see bodily concept or materialistic in current scenario, Corona, even though people have to be aware like what is the effect, but still they are ignoring and acting, and it has impact and it is impacting. Same way, we are ignorant about our soul, and
Yes.
how much it is impacting, we don't know, and what worst we can take it to the stage, what worst stage we can take it, we don't know about that. So
Yeah.
breaking the laws and rules of the nature is also leads to suffering, right?
Yes, Mataji. See, that is true. See, actually, what is told is that in the material world, the suffering is guaranteed. Okay,
Yeah.
whatever we try to do, whatever progress we made in the material civilization, it will never happen that no, like there won't be any problems. These whatever the fundamental problems are always destined to happen. Uh, and as you told, this avidya or ignorance actually is the cause of all the sufferings. That is true. But to understand that, I think we should, we should think from a little different perspective. No, it is not exactly like the ignorance in the material world. Okay, the
Okay.
ignorance here means that ignorance is simply, the ignorance is that considering that we are the body is the root cause of all the problems. Okay,
Yeah.
when we think that we are the body, and then automatically all the other conception will come, right? Okay, so like all our relationships are centered our body, and then the nature of the living entity is somehow to protect the body, and then his tendency is that he want to survive here actually somehow, somehow or other he should live basically, and we want to enjoy because we people doesn't have faith. See, many times people are very scared and afraid because they think that this life is everything and we are just the body, right? And after death everything is over. So many people think that, okay, if I die then I don't have any chance of further enjoyment, everything is over. Okay, so even if you look from an enjoyment perspective, but actually when we think from a bigger perspective, the real purpose of the human life is not really to have material enjoyment, right? Ultimately, this is the only place where actually we can understand what is our real identity, where do we come from, where can, how can we go back to the our spiritual world, right? So that is a real understanding. So so the avidya or the ignorance is because of our strong conviction that we are the body, and no, because of that all other things are coming actually. No, we don't want to die because we want to live here forever, I mean as much as possible, right? I want to enjoy, right? So that these kind of things, conception actually comes because of that. So yeah, that is way. So somebody who's really elevated in knowledge, right, is actually fully enlightened or is self-realized, actually he will not be affected by any of these kind of things, because he thinks that whatever, whether it is, see, basically a pure devotee, his intention is only to serve the Lord, whatever the condition is, whether he is in the earth, whether he is in this heavenly planet, or whether he is in a hellish planet, he doesn't care about that actually. So because his intention is only to serve the Lord. So as long as the soul is able to serve the Supreme Lord, he is always happy. So it doesn't matter what kind of situation he's put in, right? Because he knows that these things will keep happening, wherever it is told that abrahma bhuvana loga punaravartino arjuna, right? Mam upetitu kaundeya punarjanmana vidyate. So he's saying that the highest topmost planet in the material world is brahma loga. In this particular universe, every universe, this 14 planetary system is there, and in every universe the topmost planet is brahma loga. In brahma loga, actually the facilities of enjoyment is like very high, no, and then the miseries are very less. But actually, even in Brahmalok, these four defects, the four these things are there: the birth, death, old age, and disease. Right? This cannot be avoided anywhere. So yeah, so that is why. So actually, theoretically understanding that I am not a body, and fully having full realization that I am not a body is little different actually. So in the beginning, all of us know we can only kind of little bit theoretically understand that okay, I may not be the body. Beyond body there is soul. But to have the complete realization that actually that spiritual platform realization, actually it will take time. And when we only have that kind of realization, then actually we'll become fearless about the situation. Otherwise, actually all of us, we are still afraid actually. What will happen? This kind of situation is happening. What will happen to me? This kind of fear will be there, Mataji.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, one question. Sorry, I
Yes.
might end up extending this.
No problem.
So what percentage of our suffering will be from our own deeds, like the adhyatmika, and what percentage will be from others?
I don't know, bro, exactly percentage.
Yeah.
Huh?
Because it's so difficult to tease out one from the other. If you say, somebody's cancer could be because of his own deeds, very difficult. Sometimes, if it is a smoker has got lung cancer, you can say it is from his own deeds. And then many a times people get problems which are not, at least we cannot see any direct correlation, to their habits or anything. So, how much of their
Yeah.
suffering is because of their own, how much of it is because of others, and how much of it is because of nature's doing.
Yes, Manoj. So, see this part. See the three kind of sufferings. No, these are just the sources of suffering, right? So it may not be necessarily. See what is it is told that when somebody takes birth, the more or less no, the amount of suffering and enjoyment is actually kind of decided for the person. Okay, that is because we discuss about a different kind of karma. No? There are the Sanjita karma, Prarabdha karma, and there is one more karma, Agami karma. So see the smoker actually suffering, a non-smoker suffering is not, see, because that problem comes only when we look at one lifetime. A person who is suffering from cancer, he may not, whatever suffering for that matter, whether it is cancer or for any whether it is adhyatmic, adidevik. See, adhyatmic, adidevik, and adibhaudik are just the classification of suffering, but the total suffering actually is kind of almost like predetermined. And so these sufferings are actually because of many of the sufferings. Most of the suffering which we undergo is not because of this lifetime, because this suffering, as we discussed, right, suffering that I am undergoing now can be because of hundreds of lifetime before also, right? So that is why we cannot, when you look at one lifetime, that is why most of the living entities are bewildered actually. All of us are confused, and we find it difficult to accept the god and this karma, because actually we are only ready to accept one lifetime. And then people will say that what is the guarantee that you had a previous lifetime? People are not even ready to believe that there was a life. But according to Vedic scriptures, it is very, very clear. And then we also saw that about the reincarnation, other things. Various ways, actually, it is very easy to understand that is actually we will not end. A person is not completely going to end after this life. It is going to continue. Okay, so this is because we only look at a small window of time, right? In this lifetime, that person actually has not smoked, but that doesn't necessarily mean, because let's say sometimes another question is that somebody is born to, there are some diseases known as congenital disease, right? Or something hereditary disease are there, right? So why a person takes birth, we discussed, a person takes birth in a particular family based on his past karma. So if there is, let's say, a particular disease is running in a family and it is hereditary, like sometimes heart diseases also happen, like that I heard actually, right? A person, like I know one of my neighbors in my native, like in their family, most of them doesn't cross beyond 50 years actually, like around 45 to 50 years they get some heart related problems actually. So maybe nowadays they may better care, and somehow they may able to prolong, but then generally some diseases are genetical actually, right? And then even some cancers, they say it is genetical, right? So you are choose to take birth in a particular family based on your karma, right? So this cancer or disease getting is only one aspect of your karma. There are so many other aspects. So it is very, very complex to understand how exactly the karma works, because there's so many set of reaction that you have to suffer in a lifetime, which is destined, right? So it's very, very difficult to understand that, Prabhu. And the other thing, Adhyatmik, Adibodhik, and Adidevik, actually, I have not seen any, come across any quotations or anything which says that there is some distribution of that. It is just a classification, but essentially you have to suffer actually so much. And then some of them, some of them may be because of your own thing, some of them may be because of other people. So generally, the karma which comes from the other living entity is because of some activity which you have done to that particular living entity. They say that like it's like a tit for tat. It is told that if you kill a living entity, that the living entity which is killed, right, will get an opportunity to kill you in some other lifetime, is what is told. So sometimes so somebody is killed in this lifetime, it could be highly possible that it is because of some reaction which has been uh, acted upon in some previous life. Yeah, so this is little difficult, yeah, bro. It's a little difficult, bro. See, I understand the faith in spirituality, will come only, will not fully come by acquiring knowledge, right? So we may read various, there are about karma, there will be a lot of philosophical books available, maybe Mimamsas and other different this thing. So if you empirically try to understand the process of karma, or like other things, it is very difficult to have the faith in the Supreme Lord can be only developed by association of devotees, and by actually following the spiritual process, by chanting the holy name. So even though like whatever we may have so many doubts, but actually just by sincerely connecting to the Supreme Lord, right, by doing chanting, for example, or doing other spiritual activities, automatically the faith is developed, because the faith, ultimately our faith has to come from within ourselves, right? To get that faith, the Supreme Lord has to help actually. The Paramatma is there in our heart, right? The Paramatma has to convince us. A person, how much ever we preach to a particular person, he may not become a devotee actually, unless until the Paramatma in his heart actually helps him to understand it and accept it. So this process is very not at all, like we cannot understand by material or a material experience, right? So but very miraculously it can happen that we sincerely follow the spiritual process, and automatically the faith will develop in us. So it is very difficult actually. See, you may see that some acharyas, or some spiritual people who are spiritually advanced, they have a very firm conviction in these things. But in some people who are in the in the intermediate stage or beginning stage, their faith will not be very strong. Okay, they are just trying to follow it. So people who have self-realized, they will not have any doubt, 100% they will be convinced. Right? So actually it has to come from within actually, and then automatically the Lord actually can really reveal everything, right? Without his help we cannot understand. So that is how it is.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. So we'll go to the next paragraph. So somebody has any points in this to discuss? Then I think we can discuss. Otherwise, we can just quickly go through it. So we're talking about modern education. Yeah. So the problem we discussed, right? This birth, death, old age, and disease. These are the four problems in the material life. So regarding that shloka, which you can see, this is in Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, shloka number 8 to 12. So actually here the qualities of a spiritual advanced person is described actually. So there are in that various qualities. One part is like this: Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Dosha Anudarshanam. Right. So what it means is that so what is that? Okay, let us read. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of. So this is the part actually. The perception of evil in birth, death, old age, and disease. Right. So according to Vedic scriptures, no, it is described actually. No, so these are the four things which will be part of any no living entity can escape it. Right. So one who is spiritually advanced, he'll be easily able to see these defects. Right. Generally, the problem is that, no, as we discussed earlier, by the power of Maya, right? Every living entity is a kind of a slave to the Maya. They are under the net. So Maya actually is just like, no, is like a magician who is casting her net. This is called Maya Jal, we call, right? It is a net actually of Maya, and all the living entities by design, they are entrapped. They are under the spell of this Maya's material energy, and because of which, everybody, most of the living entity, like 99% of the living entities they think in a particular way. They are convinced that I am the body, and then, they don't actually see that. One shloka we'll see later actually, that even though everybody around us die, we actually will still think that we'll live forever. So these are all the power of Maya actually. So we see normally, if you look at any people, like if you look our neighbors, our friends, see most of them don't think about any of these things actually. They don't have time to think, because everybody is very designed. The world is designed in such a way that everybody is extremely busy in their day-to-day activities. They don't have time for anything. They are all running. No, they're just busy. Like now, one way this particular lockdown has actually, one way it's good that it has slowed down the things, and hopefully some people get some time to think, really introspect actually what is really happening. Is it really worth what I'm doing actually every day? Because when we are busy in our work, right, we never think about anything, right? Every day we are kind of a, what do you call, a rut, or a fixed schedule, right? Morning you get up, get ready for the office, go to office, full time we are busy, coming back, then after coming back, no, we are still busy with the children. So this way we don't get any time to really stop and think, what am I doing? What is my purpose of life? We don't have time. So this is actually, there's no surprise, because it is by design. The material world is like that actually. So that the living entity is temporarily forgetting its original identity, so that his desire for enjoyment is satisfied. He has come here because he want to enjoy independently. The Lord has created this place in such a way that he forgets who he is, and he actually is completely into this bodily concept, and he wants to keep on enjoying and then suffering based on his activity. So that is how the world is designed. Okay, so this will come later actually. I'm just thinking whether there's a description. Yeah. So this paragraph we can read. One should try to understand the distress of accepting birth, death, old age, and disease. There are descriptions in various Vedic literatures of birth. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the world of unborn, the child stay in the womb of the mother, its suffering, etc., are very graphically described. It should be thoroughly understood that birth is distressful. Because we forget how much distress we have suffered within the womb of the mother, we do not make any solution to the repetition of birth and death. Similarly, at the time of death, there are all kinds of suffering, and they are also mentioned in the authoritative scriptures. These should be discussed. And as far as disease and old age are concerned, everyone gets practical experience. No one wants to be deceased, and no one wants to become old. But there is no avoiding these. Unless we have pessimistic view of the material life, considering the distress of birth, death, old age, and disease, there is no impetus for making advancement. So this actually point is very profound. See, generally, the shloka in Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, it talks about. We have discussed it earlier also. How? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, Mother, you can mute actually for time
Yeah.
being. Yeah, some echo is coming. Okay, so yeah, so the thing is that, see, actually the how a devotee, right, how a person who is a spiritual person and a materialistic person, their thoughts are completely opposite, right? So that is why there is a shloka which says that what is day for a spiritually enlightened soul is night for the for the materialistic person, and the vice versa. So here, generally, if you talk about death in normal day to day among your friends or everything, they will tell that, okay, this person is very negative, he's highly pessimistic. because actually that is because by definition it is like that. Actually the materialistic person is thinking in his perspective and his goals, everything is in one direction, and the spiritual person is completely in a different direction, right? But actually the fact is that the reality is, we have to understand the reality, right, which is the truth. And accordingly, if you just blindly think that okay, I'm going to live forever and then trying to enjoy, you are just wasting your life. So that is just one point actually in that context. Okay, so let us come back to the point. This probably I do not want to see is what is it? Yeah, so there is one example given about the animal, no? Like see, if you also think that, if you also don't bother or completely neglect the truths of life, birth, death, old age. So in one thing in that shloka which is mentioned is that birth, death, old age and disease. In that birth and death, actually nobody really knows exactly what is what is the suffering, because somehow by the design or by virtue of our situation, we actually completely forget our suffering which we undergone in time of birth. Like, just like a person, somebody who is actually done an operation, like and undergone an anesthesia, he actually may not remember actually what exactly is the process, right? How much, what like the 1 or 2 days or the few hours which has passed during the operation time, he will not be able to remember anything for that time, completely forget. So similarly, by the, maybe it's by God's grace that actually the living entity cannot remember anything before it took birth, right? So that is because of which the difficulties of birth people doesn't understand. Similarly, same thing about death actually, because it's very difficult for somebody to explain. Somebody who's actually died, he cannot come back and tell that what he suffered, right? And then it's very difficult to also explain, share the experience. So the birth and death, actually the sufferings, actually people are generally, they have some idea but they don't exactly know how much it is. But disease and old age is something which actually everybody practically experiences. So that is what actually is mentioned in that shloka. And yeah, another thing is that the example of the animal, right? So if you are even after getting a human body, if we are completely neglectful about these information, what is the importance of human life, right? And the death actually is, death and birth actually are part of the cycle of the material existence, right? Then actually it is, we are just like animals. That is what the shloka we saw in the beginning, right? Ahara nidra maya maidunam cha, right? Samanyam. So basically the shloka says that if after getting human birth, we are only thinking about eating, mating, sleeping and defending, and then our consciousness is just like an animal. So just like an animal or a goat actually, which is about to be sacrificed, he generally doesn't care, like we don't know actually. Some people say that some of the animals has understand that they are going to kill, but some animals I think may not know it actually. So generally the animals are considered as less intelligent, and then they may not fully understand the gravity of the situation that they are going to be sacrificed, right? So we should not be like that actually, because we are having higher intelligence. We should really think, contemplate actually these topics, like what is happening after death, right? Like, who am I? Where was I before my birth? What will happen to me after death? So these kind of questions intelligent person should ask, otherwise we are just like animals. And this particular shloka, like the Yudhishthira Maharaj's example is given. So this is taken from Mahabharat. Okay, so in Mahabharat, actually it is in Vanaparva, right? This is the section from which is taken. So actually Yamaraj once asked Maharaj Yudhishthira, what is the most wonderful thing in this world? Right? So what Maharaj Yudhishthira replies is, he says that ahani bhutani gachanti yamalayam shesha stavaram ichanti kim ascharyam atapara. So what Yudhishthira Maharaj says, what is the most wonderful thing is that hundreds and thousands of living entities meet death every moment. But a foolish living being nonetheless think himself deathless and does not prepare for death. This is the most wonderful thing. So this is very interesting thing actually, right? So though, see, normally we never think about death. Whether we like, see now because of the corona thing, we are actually collecting the statistics, right? So many people are dying. But even if there is no corona also, like more people are dying actually than this. Now, of course, this is added to the total number, but generally also every day, every moment, so many people are dying in the world, right? And normally, some of them die because of old age, some of them may die because of disease, some of them may be dying, because of accidents. So, and some of the many people are dying. It is told that because of pollution itself, so many more people are dying actually. So generally nobody thinks about it right now because it's a global threat. Everybody is little scared. No, it can come to me. So generally people think that it will not happen to me. Right? Somebody is dying because of pollution. Whatever happened, no, everybody is extremely selfish. They'll think that okay, as long as I am good, nothing happens to me, I'm fine. I don't care actually. Somebody even when somebody like in the neighborhood dies, or but as and when it comes nearer to us, then we start thinking about. Otherwise, if it is something far away, we don't really connect to that and we don't bother. But actually the thing is that we should always be thinking about this because why it is because important, because this human life, as we discussed, no, it is very very rare. After so many lifetimes we get actually human birth, and if you miss that, then actually we don't know, no, I mean, how many millions of births we have to wait again. So that is why, that is the reason we should be concerned about death. Otherwise actually death and birth is just part of the existence, right? We'll keep on taking birth and death. But what we have to see is that, is it possible for me, actually I have spent so many lifetimes in the past, so many lifetimes I have enjoyed in different bodies. See, we are thinking that okay, because we forget about the past lives, again and again we want it is Prahlad Maharaj says that it is known as Punah Charvida Charvananam. Punah Charvida Charvananam means, it is Charvida Charvana means chewing the chewed, right? Just like a cow on many of the cattle and these kind of animals, what they do is that when they graze, they quickly swallow the grass. No, they actually don't digest it immediately. They just swallow and keep it in their mouth. And then when actually they sit somewhere and rest, they actually take it, bring it back to the mouth, and then they chew, right? So this is actually called Charvida Charvanam. Charvanam. So Charvida Charvanam means chewing the chewed, right? So the example is given like we, all of us, most of us have the experience of drinking sugarcane juice, right? So when we go to a sugarcane vendor, what he does is that he takes a few canes, and then he will put it in the machine, right? And extract juice will come out. Then he'll keep on repeating it multiple times, right? He'll fold it 2 times, 4 times, 6 times, 8 times, and then extract everything, and finally it becomes just like a pulp. Nothing is left, right? So actually, our human life, our enjoyment is also like that actually in one way, because we are trying to extract maximum. Actually, Charvida Charvanam means, we only thing is that in many of our past lives we have already enjoyed whatever we are thinking that no, I have not enjoyed this in the lifetime. I want to go on a world tour. No, I want to do this activity. I want to do that activity. But actually, we have done all those things in different ways in many lives. No, and then again and again we want to do the same thing. Charveda Charvanam, Punah Charveda Charvananam. So we have to think that okay, somehow or other I've wasted, or I've done all these things, I wasted my life, so many births. At least this particular life, let me actually use it for the best thing possible. So I don't want to again spend time here in this world, because anyway all these things are decided here, right? So at least this lifetime, let me use it for my ultimate benefit. Let me use this lifetime for going back to my original abode, right? That is the most intelligent person actually. So from that perspective, we have to be really concerned, when is death coming, right? Because I am now in a very, what you call, see, when you want to enter to the kingdom of God, when you want to return to the spiritual world, we have to attain the qualities of the inhabitants of the spiritual world, right? The inhabitants of spiritual world are actually completely pure. They have all the very nice qualities actually. They don't have envy, all these vices. What is that? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Madam, Lobha, Moha, Madam, Matsarya. So these kind of vices, actually, we, all of the people in the living in the material world, they all possess these qualities. Unless and until we cleanse of all these qualities, we become purified, it is not possible to go back to spiritual world. So our concern should be, how can I become purified as early as possible? We don't know when the death is going to come. It can come any moment actually. So our concern, from that perspective, we should be worrying about that. So before I actually end this life, how much let me try my best to attain the maximum possible, in making progress in the spiritual life. So that should be our goal actually, right? So that is the whole point, right? Otherwise, this birth, death, old age and disease is, it is actually part and parcel of the material existence. It is going to continue. Nobody can stop it. It keeps on happening, right? So yes. Any points here? Okay, so the next shloka, I think it's continuation of same topic. My father died. Then the last paragraph we will see. Yeah, so in this previous paragraph, the point is now ultimately the question is, an intelligent person should ask the intelligent question. Actually, we should think that why am I suffering? right? Is there a way to get out of suffering? So another point which I want to say in respect of corona, whatever we discussed, right? So we should not be misled actually, in the sense, no, we should not think that okay, because I am taking the spiritual path, I know I am protected from this. No, that is not. It is not a direct consequence that no, because if you become a devotee, or you are taking the spiritual path, you are protected actually from the material problems, because the material problems are bound to happen. Okay, so you may be protected actually. See, what is the real protection of the living entity is also relative, right? A materialistic person think that if he is protected or if he is spared from the disease, then actually is protected. But a spiritual person, he may not think the same way. Okay, a spiritual person will think that any incident that is happening in my life, right? If it is helping me becoming closer to the Supreme Lord, that is the most favorable thing. And any activity which happens in my life which actually takes me away from the Lord, that is very unfortunate. So this is how spiritual person thinks, but a material person thinks in a different way. So the point is that the laws of karma are very, very strong, right? Generally, the as I discussed in the beginning, right? There is something called prarabdha karma, which is the karma that a living entity is going to suffer in this particular lifetime. We have discussed the example of a person who is shooting the arrow, right? To understand the karma, like there are three kind of karma. So you can take the analogy of a person. A hunter is shooting the arrow. So he has shot one arrow already, and the next arrow is about to shoot. Okay, so the arrow which is already shot, no, that is actually the prarabdha karma, which we can't change anything. No, it has already happened, and then we cannot change the prarabdha karma. That the arrow which is shot from the bow, nobody can stop it. So that is already beyond our control. And then now the one which is about to shoot actually is something which I have control. No, which that is what the activities I'm going to do in this lifetime. But generally because of our past karma, we will have different vasanas, because of which we'll be forced to act. We have a tendency to act in a particular way, and it is little difficult to check it. Okay, so the only way that actually we can change the course of karma is by completely surrendering to the Supreme Lord, because Supreme Lord is the controller of Maya, controller of karma, everything. Krishna says that Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti Suyade Saracharam. So except that surrender actually should be complete. If you just when we start to become a little faith, actually we are not fully having the faith in the Lord, right? A devotee who is completely surrendered to the Lord, he's having full faith in the Lord. For him, the Lord actually will take control of his life. For him, the Lord will give complete protection. And for others, it is told that ye yadama prabhadyante tam sadaiva bhajamiham. To the extent we surrender to the Lord, to that extent Lord will take control of our situation. So the thing is that in general, most of us actually are in the beginning stage of our devotion service. We are actually kind of neophyte, or not trying to make small progress in our life. So we are actually we will so we cannot expect that completely Lord will take control of our life, right? So but actually if you are ready to surrender to the Lord, fully depend on the Lord, then actually Lord will take control, right? So we have to just understand that actually, just so we should not be bewildered that actually like just don't think that okay, no, I started chanting one round, so then I will not get it. No, that is not the point. So any questions in this? Okay, last paragraph. They have discovered. So basically, talking about Vedic civilization. Yeah. So what is it? See here, one point is that what is the original position of a living entity is described. The original nature of living entity. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Jivera Swarup Hoy Krishna Nityadas. The original identity of a living entity is to be the servant of the Supreme Lord. Jivera Swarup Hoy Krishna Nityadas. So this is our natural position, right? So every living entity, or for that matter, from our material understanding, we know that when a living entity is in its natural habitat, right, that living entity is happy. For example, a fish, when the fish is in water, it is happy, right? But if you take the fish out of the water and you try to provide all other comforts, like if you try to feed the fish whatever is best, whatever it likes best, or try to do anything actually, the fish will never be happy, right? Because if it is out of water, it is not his natural habitat. It will suffer. So similarly, why the living entity is suffering in the material world? That is because we are not in our natural constitutional position. The constitutional position of the living entity is to serve the Supreme Lord, because that is because all the living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, right? So what is it? Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loga Jiva Buddha Sanadana, right? Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loga. So he's saying that the living entities are part and parcel of me. So this is our original relationship with the Supreme Lord, right? We are actually, the Lord actually The Lord has expanded unlimitedly, for his own enjoyment. So all the living entities, all the demigods, everything that we see, they are all actually expansions of the Lord. And then this Lord, just like the example also is given, the trees example, right? And a tree has different parts. The tree has roots, tree has leaves, like it has branches, etc. So when we water the root of the tree, then the entire tree is nourished. But if the individual parts of the tree try things, that if the leaf things that no, like let me only enjoy separately, and then if you try to give water to only to the leaf, then the tree will not be nourished. The entire tree will perish. So similarly, the root actually of everything is the Supreme Lord. And when we try to satisfy the Supreme Lord, then actually everybody will be automatically satisfied, right? So it is known as Yasmin Tushte Jagat Tushta. When the Supreme Lord is satisfied, then so basically people may not understand, no, like when actually we call devotees or everybody, when we call upon the people to chant the holy names, we say that okay, there is a problem, let us all come and chant together, right? Why how it is going to work? Actually, because while chanting the holy names of the Lord, we are trying to we are trying to root the water the root of the tree. The supreme, we are trying to satisfy the Supreme Lord, right? And when the Supreme Lord is satisfied, then actually automatically everything will be in order. So this way, this is how we have to understand actually, right? Krishna says also that Bhoktaram Yadna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarva Bhudanam Dhatva Mam Shanti Richati. So that shloka is known as the peace formula. So it's known as the peace formula. What is the peace formula? Bhoktaram Yadna Tapasam. So this shloka we'll read together today. All of you can see the screen? Hare Krishna, everybody can see the screen?
I can't see. Prabhuji.
Now it is visible. What is that is visible now?
You are visible.
How about others?
I can see the screen.
Loka.
Maybe 5.29.
Yes.
Raman Prabhu, you're not able to.
I'm able to see.
Not able to see. Okay, anything is maximized or minimized in somewhere in your?
Maybe I'm just trying to see if I've done something. If I remove your the thing, then I just get a black background. That's all. I cannot see the screen.
Mm-hmm. Is there an option to refresh? I don't think refresh option is not there. I think you'll have to rejoin. Prabhu, you can maybe try to rejoin.
I'll rejoin. Okay.
I'll just wait. Once you're back, you let me know.
Hello.
Krishna, you're able to see now?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. It went off again. It was there transiently.
You're using mobile. I think maybe it's some setting in the screen, maybe in the same screen, something matter. Okay. So this sloka is okay. We'll read this sloka. It is 5th chapter 29 sloka. Okay, we'll read together. Bhoktaram yadna tabasam. You can repeat after me. Sarva loka maheshwaram. Suhridam sarva bhutanam. Natva mam shanti richati. Bhoktaram yadna tabasam. Sarva loka Dadam sarva bhutanam. Natva mam shanti richati.
Matra mam shanti mrchati.
Bhoktaram yajna tapasam
Bhoktaram yajna tapasam.
sarvaloka maheshwaram
Sarvaloka maheshwaram.
suhridam sarvabhutanam
Sudam sarvabhutanam.
natva mamam shanti richati.
Mam shanti mrchati.
What is the translation? Let us see. A person in full Krishna conscious, a person in full consciousness of knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain peace and pangs from the material existence. Okay, so what something is very important actually. See, he's saying that. Let me see whether it explains somewhere. Yeah. So one important thing is that okay, the more one is advanced, the more one is free from clutches of matter. So this is what actually. Yeah. So let us read from here. Okay, from here I will read this part. A pure soul is eternal servant of God as his fragmental part and parcel. He comes into contact with Maya due to the desire of Maya. As with matter, he has to execute work in terms of material necessities. Krishna consciousness, however, brings one spiritual life, even one is within Krishna. The more one is advanced, the more he is freed from the clutches of matter. The Lord is not partial to anyone. Everything depends on one's practical performance of duties in Krishna consciousness. Helps one control the senses in every aspect and conquer and anger. And one who stands fast in Krishna consciousness, controlling the above mentioned passions, remains factually in the transcendental stage of Brahma Nirvana. The Eightfold Yoga mysticism is automatically practiced in Krishna consciousness because the ultimate purpose is served. There is a gradual process of elevation in the practice of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. But these only preface perfection by devotional service, which alone can award peace to human being. It is the highest perfection of life. So this sloka has actually has a lot of important points. And so some of the things in the beginning part, I think we already discussed, right? So basically it is saying that when we are in the bodily consciousness, we are under the control of Maya. And when we are taking shelter of the spiritual Krishna, that shloka we saw, right? What is it? No. Mama Maya Durartaya. Mameva Prapadyante. Devi Esha Gunamayi. Mama Maya Durartaya. Mameva Ye Prapadyante. Maya Meram Taranti. We discussed it last class also. This shloka says that this material energy of mind, Devi material energy, Devi Esha Gunamayi, consisting of the three modes, Sattva-guna, Rajaguna, Tamoguna. This material energy consisting of the three modes is my energy, is very, very difficult to overcome. Right? Devi Esha Gunamami, Mama Maya, Durattaya, very difficult to overcome. Then Mam Evaye Prabhadyante Maya Medam Taranta. Is that when we are on the material consciousness, when we are on the bodily consciousness, and when we are averse to Krishna, then actually we are completely under the control of material energy, and then we completely suffer and our reactions, enjoy the reactions of material karma, what we have done. But whoever has taken shelter of the Lord, right? Mam evaye prabhadyante, Maya medam tarantate. To the extent we take surrender, shelter of the Supreme Lord, then Maya cannot influence us. Right? To that extent, actually, we will be protected. So and then Krishna is saying that another important sloka. In this sloka, Krishna says that Suhridam Sarva Bhudanam, right? Bhoktaram Yadna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. So this sloka, what it says is that if see basically all the problems in the material world, right, which is happening at a bigger scale, no, a smaller scale as well as bigger scale. In smaller scale, all the problem stems from the ego of the living entity. Everybody thinks that I am this body, right? That is why the problem happens with the spouse, the children, the friends, neighbors, and even the states, right? If you take a small area, there are competition between different areas, right? Like for example, Karnataka and other states, no? Like for example, Tamil Nadu, there's a problem, right? On dispute on the water. If you take India and Pakistan, India and China, problem. Like that, everyone has different opinions, and no, there is a concept of me and mine. This is my jurisdiction, and then all other people are separate. All these things stems because we think we are the body, right? But actually, if you think that ultimately we are just the leaves and branches of a big tree, right? The Supreme Lord actually is a root. Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. If you think that the Supreme Lord is the root of everything, and we are all part and parcel of the same Supreme Lord, then actually this concept of separate feeling will not be there. When we make advancement in spiritual life, finally we come to that stage, actually, And it is told that Brahma Puda Prasannatma Na Sochadi Na Kankshadi Sama Sarveshu Bhudeshu Mad Bhaktim Lagdepada. So no, he will not. That is one shloka, and then there is also shloka says. There is a shloka which says that a person who is learned, he will consider all living entities at the same platform, right? Brahmana, Gavi, Hastini, right? What is the shloka? Pandya Samadarshina. Shloka which says that a person who is advanced, he thinks that consider all the living entities, a learned, a Brahmana, an elephant, a dog eater, all of them in the same platform. It doesn't distinguish. He sees on the soul platform. Similarly, because the separated feeling is because we don't understand that we are all belonging to the same Supreme Lord. Right? So that is why Krishna is saying in this sloka that he Bhoktaram Yadna Tapasam Sarvalokama. He's saying that I am the proprietor of all that you see. Right? Yadna Tapasam, all the yajnas, the ultimate benefactor of all the yajnas, whatever all the activities we do, Krishna is actually the ultimate benefactor of that. Right? And he says that Suhritam Sarva Bhudanam. He says that I am the friend of all living entity. And whoever understands this, only this person, only a person is everybody thinks they're all independent. But if everybody accept this philosophy or concept that the Supreme Lord is the root of everything, then naturally this fight will not happen. Actually, they will not think that this is mine and this is yours, right? Because we are all just the members of the same family. In nowadays we cannot even take that example, because in today's world even the same family members they fight, and then they even kill, actually brothers even kill each other. So but in generally according to Vedic civilization, the previous times, if people of family used to live very peacefully, right? They used to cooperate and live. So similarly, ideal scenario would be if you understand that everybody belongs to the same father, and the Lord is the supreme proprietor and he is the root, then everybody will naturally water the root of tree, right? Everybody will try to work towards that, and then there will be real peace. So this is the peace formula. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So let us go back. Here, any questions? Yeah. Okay, so the important point actually I want to say is that why do we suffer? Because we are not in our constitutional position. Because the living entity, just like the fish is out of water. Because see, we all actually belong to the spiritual world. Our nature, our constitutional position is spiritual. We are not matter, and we are forced to, in this conditioned life, we are forced to live in this body which is a matter, and then we are forced to undergo the death, because actually the soul doesn't have death, and because we are in the material world, we are forced to undergo the process, all very unnatural for the soul. Actually, that is why we are suffering in the material world, right? We are not in our constitutional position. So when can we become happy? Is only by serving the Lord, because the constitutional position of the living entity is to serve the Lord. As I told you, Jivera Swarup Hoy Krishna and Nityadas. So when the living entity serves the Supreme Lord, he is established in his natural constitutional position. And whenever we do, that is why when a person takes up devotional activity, spirituality sincerely, like he chants the holy name of Lord, he does some devotional activity, then his heart becomes he naturally experience the lot, right? Basically, there's a difference between the material pleasures and actually the spiritual bliss. These are different. The spiritual bliss actually it cannot be achieved by any amount of material activities, right? The material activities can only give you material luxury and pleasures, but it cannot really bring peace and the bliss in the heart. So even if a person takes up a small devotional activity, he will start experiencing the devotional bliss little by little, right? So that is actually because doing devotional act, we are actually trying to re-establish ourselves in our original constitutional position, which is the spiritual platform, and then we are connecting to the Supreme Lord, who is also spiritual. So whenever we try to act in the spiritual platform, then actually we'll become completely happy. In no other circumstances we can be completely happy. That is the whole point actually which is mentioned here, right? Spiritual and matter are completely contradictory things. All of us are spiritual entities. We cannot have perfect happiness, which is our birthright. However much we may meddle with the affairs of mundane things, but perfect happiness can be ours only when we restore to our natural state of spiritual existence. This is the distinctive message of our ancient civilization. So that is the whole point. So with that, actually we completed the edification sheet. So here we can discuss any point or any comments anybody want to discuss. Please let me know. Anybody has any points or comments? Okay, I hope there is no points or comments. So then I think what we can do is that we can go to the questions and see what we understood everything. So what are the 3 kinds of suffering?
Can I tell Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Sure.
Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautika, and Adi Devika, Daivika.
Yes, very good. And you want to briefly tell what they are?
So Adhyatmika is something that difficulties caused by oneself. It could be physical or mental, but caused due to one's own activities. Adi Bhautika are those caused by other living entities around them. And Adi Daivika is because of the nature.
Yes. Very good, Prabhuji. What is the next question? What is the real problems of life, our lives? Anybody else want to try? There are 4. The hint is that there are 4.
Birth, death, old age, and disease.
Yes. Very nice. Okay. So question is that can we overcome the 4 problems?
Can I tell Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu, sure.
So as you said, in all the whichever planet we go, these 4 problems are not avoidable. But if we are in a pure spirit form, that is the only time when we can avoid these things. Otherwise, as long as there is a birth and rebirth, we cannot avoid these 4 things.
Yes, Prabhu, very nice. So what is the takeaway? What can we do about it? So we discussed so many points today, right? So what is the summary? Like, what can we do about all these things?
So we have to understand that we have to strive towards getting rid of this
Yes.
in all ways. So the certain karmas which we cannot avoid, but we can constantly work towards it, and slowly and steadily we can reach there by acquiring good karmas, bhakti, taking bhakti marga,
Yes.
having full faith in the Lord. We may be able to reach there earlier than just by acquiring good karmas.
Yes. So what is the problem with good karma?
It will have good effects and bad effects as well. Every karma will have good things and bad things.
Yes.
So nothing is free of bad, although there might be
Yeah.
more good, there might be some amount of negative things associated with it as well.
Yes. Yes, Prabhu. So basically the thing is that see, karma is always binding the living entity, whether it is good or bad, right? That is a point. So whether you do good or bad, both of them bind the living entity, because if you do good activities, we have to enjoy the results. If you do bad activities, you have to suffer, and you cannot nullify. So it is told that in Bhagavatam, it is explained, when somebody is, when let's say some of us is having a very nice time in our life. Let's say we are prospering in our life, we are enjoying. Then we have to understand that we are spending our good karma, because we had good karma, we are actually spending that good karma now. And when we are undergoing miseries and difficulties, we have to understand that we are actually burning our bad karma, right? So both of them are actually kind of what you call the activity which you do. So now we are suffering, and in the process of enjoying the karma, we are accumulating new karmas, right? So every activity, because in the material world it is not possible to be without any activity. right? So Shanam api, basically the slogan in Bhagavad Gita, even for a moment the living entity cannot be idle. So so it is very difficult not to do any karma in the material world, right? So basically the process is it's like a continuous loop. No, it's very difficult to get out of it because we keep on accumulating good and bad karma, and all the good, and we have to enjoy them and suffer them separately. So whatever good result we have to enjoy, bad we have to suffer, right? And sometimes in our life it may be interleaved actually. Sometimes we enjoy, sometimes suffer, but essentially we have to enjoy and suffer all the reactions. So the point is that doing good and bad both are actually binding the living entity. So only thing which actually can free us from the cycle of birth and that is actually the akarma, right? Karma and vikarma is good and bad, and akarma is only activity that actually we can really free from the clutches of the karmic reactions. So that is why we should only try to minimize our good and bad karma, or dovetail. Another way of doing is that dovetail our activities to the Supreme Lord. Whatever activity we do, we can actually, as we told, we cannot avoid karma, right? That I think this topic will come later actually. I should not discuss much actually, but then the point is that it is possible to live just like any other person who is living in the material world, but actually we can keep the Lord in the center of our activities. Try to remember the Lord. Then actually all the normal activity which we are doing now, like we are working in the office, we are bringing up our children, all these activities we can actually spiritualize it, because if you keep the Lord at the center, if you all the members of the family, if they try to become spiritual and try to have faith in the Lord, then every activity that we do as part of our day-to-day life can be spiritualized, and we will not get karma for that activities. Otherwise, actually, that is what the shloka. What is it? Yatnartha karmano anyato karmano logoyam karma. Basically, the point is that any activity which is not connected to Supreme Lord, that will actually have reaction. So we can spiritualize our life, okay, and we can live a normal life, apparently normal life, but actually still not incur any karma. So that is the beauty of the path which is given by Acharya, the Bhakti Marga. Actually, is very potent. So that those things we can discuss. We'll discuss in the future classes. But essentially, we have to have faith that it is possible. Otherwise it looks very impractical. No, like this is karma is there, bad karma is there. So what am I supposed to do? How do I practically apply in my life? These kind of questions will be there, right? So these questions have definitely have answers, and then we'll discuss those things in the coming sessions. But otherwise, there is no point, right? We just understand everything, and then there's no solution. It doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So understanding why is it that though we see many people suffering and we ourselves are suffering, we are not looking out for solution to the and the sufferings. What is the reason for that? You want to try?
Yeah, Prabhuji, we all know that we are suffering, and very few were connected to the correct.
Krishna.
People like who are learned or known about that and try to preach others. The other people are not ready to accept it. They want to enjoy their bodily, because their senses are their thoughts are only about thinking about the body. That could be the one reason, and it is very difficult make the people to get into this spiritual path. They are more concerned about their sense enjoyments rather than understanding the real truth.
Yes. Yeah. Basically, everybody thinks that
path is difficult and it is not easy. Like chanting the rounds, following the guidance from the spiritual master, and having only the offered food. These are all like not so easy because we are not following it. If everyone follows it, it will not be difficulty. And aware of these things. And suddenly, if someone asks to do these things, many people will not be ready, or it may not be possible. And but if one has a very faith in God and do his or her best, at least to tell others like this is the path and follow these things, at least to chant, at least to tell them others to chant, it will lead them to the spiritual path. It may lead them to the spiritual path.
Okay, Mataji. Anybody else want to add anything to this? Why is it that though we see many people suffering and we ourselves are suffering, we are not looking out for a solution to end suffering?
I think I will add just one point. In one of the previous sessions, you said that when there is something valuable, like diamond shop or somewhere we go, then not many people will come. So similarly, like if there is something actually worth we should do, not many people will be inclined towards that side because of the more involvement in the material senses and other things. Even if they know that this path is good, they're not able to detach themselves from the other materialistic world. That is the major cause.
Yeah, very nice point, Mataji. Very nice point. Yes. Yeah. So yes, all the points are right actually. And one important thing
One
is that
thing, Prabhuji.
yeah.
Yeah, I like Mataji has started one Bhagavad Gita class, and she
Mhm.
asked me to check with your colleagues. I
Mm,
messaged few of my colleagues, and
mm,
I got the reply that they don't have time. Even though
mm,
we are in a lockdown situation, and still people don't have time.
mm.
Yeah.
Yes, Mataji. That is what unfortunate situation is. In today's world, actually, it is very, very difficult. No, olden times, no, these things were part of our culture. Everybody has this education naturally, But in this Kali Yuga, no, it is very, very difficult actually. People to get people's attention, and then people are so much because especially it is because of the our educational system, etc. Right? The people don't have faith in our scriptures, and then they are all too much into material consciousness and things. And everywhere we see that only, right? Ultimately, what is the power of association is very, very strong. Everything depends on who we associate. If all the people around us are doing a particular thing, then everybody, everybody will follow that. Actually, that is what only very few people are able to come out of those kind of attachment. So yeah, as Shelly Mataji also told, right? So if people actually see, if you give something very easy to do, then people may take it up. For example, if you like, for example, yoga is there, right? So yoga, if you conduct yoga classes, a lot of people will join because they have mental stress problems, health problems, etc. Or if you also follow some impersonal philosophies are there actually, many acharyas like today's world, many of them actually have impersonal, like the self-style godmans, and so many. There are a lot of followers for them because they don't ask anything. They don't ask you to do anything. They'll say that okay, do whatever you like, and then they'll do some word jugglery, and then try to control, like people influence the people intellectually. So basically, intellectual appeal is there, and then no, because there is no surrender or there is no sacrifice to be done. There are thousands and millions of followers for them. It is like just like cheap things. The Mataji told, right? That if you're selling something very cheap, then there will be a lot of people to get it. And if you sell something very, very precious, then no, not many people are there because they can't afford it. So, but as I told, no, but we have to keep doing our part actually, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as we discussed, we are following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is very, very merciful. Even though people are not interested or no, they don't have this interest, we should try our best to give mercy to everybody, so that all people can ultimately benefit, whatever in small way, little bit also. Somebody takes up spirituality, even somebody attends a class for 2-3 times, or he chants maybe few rounds in a lifetime, that actually spiritual credit is never lost. So we should try to do our best to preach. Okay. So how is the analogy of aquatic animal out of water applicable to us? We already explained, I think, no? That the fish example is going, fish out of water example, right? In that, any
Is
doubts?
not. No.
Yeah, it is clear, I think.
Yeah.
So there are two application questions. Okay, so you can just read and let me know you want to discuss that. Any of you want to discuss that application question, then let me know. Otherwise, we'll go to the next topic. Everybody has read it?
Yeah, read.
You want to discuss anything here or?
I think this is something like personal. I mean, everybody will have different experiences for this.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think I won't like to discuss on this. I am good. The second question I can relate a lot. Like there would be many situations which we feel, yeah, we could have acted differently.
Hmm.
And maybe the result of those actions are like why our life is like this at this point of time.
Exactly. Yes. So the point here is that no. So these application things are actually some points to ponder this, or we should try to think about it over the period of time. It is not that immediately if something is there we can discuss. Otherwise, basically it is just some food for thought. Okay. So for example, now before actually we had an understanding about these things, right? For example, about the karma, or no, like why do we suffer? So before we did not have like we had our own perception and we try to approach the problems, right? We had gone through different situation and we behaved in a particular way. Now let's say we have this understanding of how things are working. Now with this new understanding, how do we look at the same situations which we had gone in the past? So that is the kind of thing we are trying to discuss here. So everything actually depends on the perspective, right? See, that is why given, so let's say some one like few people are put into a conditions that a particular situation, each of them behaves in a different way. Not all of them, their response are the same, right? That is because of their perception, how they perceive the situation. So similarly, so when we have the correct understanding of the situation, then our approach also will change towards that particular problem or situation. So that is the point here actually. Okay, now we'll go to Namamrita. So actually, one thing I hope everybody is aware that today is Ekadashi. So we have discussed in the beginning earlier, I think few times. So Ekadashi is actually spiritually very powerful. Right. So just like any other spiritual thing, we cannot understand things very easily. Like we think that okay, what is special? Every day is same. Like that we can think one way, but actually the Lord has invested a lot of potency in Ekadashi. Actually, it is a very favorite for the Lord. So like that. So why do we? Basically, there are some festivals we celebrate, right? As part of our Vedic culture. We celebrate appearance days. Like for example, we celebrate Janmashtami. We celebrate, like Ram Navami was just over. So basically, these festivals are opportunities for the living entity to engage them in some kind of spiritual activity. Okay, whether knowingly or unknowingly somebody does a spiritual activity, the benefit is always there. It doesn't matter whether he knows about it, he's knowingly doing or unknowingly. So our culture is such that in traditionally, all of our family members are involved in some kind of spiritual activity, right? So sometimes nowadays actually people have lost faith because these things are now looked upon as just ritualistic activities, right? So without the proper understanding, the activities are just ritualistic. But actually, if you have the right understanding, the same ritualistic will become spiritualistic. So there's a small difference actually, ritualistic and spiritualistic. So the point is that so these are all the Lord has actually given, as we told, the Vedic knowledge. The Vedic knowledge is given by the Supreme Lord. He only has created a material world, all the worlds, and he also given the knowledge by which actually the living entities can come back. So the Lord is providing various opportunity for the living entities to actually to purify himself. So the Ekadashi is one such activity, right? Actually, where there are we can look at it in different ways actually. But the point is that see, for example, people may say that okay, fasting is good for health, right? And then there are so many health benefits. So these are all secondary. Okay, the primary idea is that why do we follow Ekadashi is actually to focus more on the spiritual activities, spend time on spiritual activities, focus more on the Lord's activities. So try to minimize the requirements of the body. For example, normally we spend a lot of time in cooking the food, right? Eating, cooking and preparing the food, eating and then doing our normal activities. So in Ekadashi, it is recommended that we can fast if possible. So fasting can be at different levels actually. Somebody can completely fast without eating anything for the whole day, and without drinking anything. But this is the most difficult level. Then after that, no, we can actually drink water only, for example, right? Or no, some people, if they are not able to do that, they can actually take fruits. If that is not possible, then you can take food which is not grains, non-grain foods, right? So this way, there are different levels of fasting which is given in Ekadashi. So the point is that austerity is one of the important pillars in spiritual life. Okay, austerity is also an important pillar. See, in material life also austerity is there, right? Somebody who's actually studying, right? Somebody is preparing for, let's say, IAS, or somebody is preparing for an IIT. Actually, that student has to go through a lot of austerity, because by austerity, what is happening is that by austerity our determination is increased. Now our conviction and our determination is increased actually to do certain activity, achieve a particular task, right? For example, a child is a student who is trying for a IIT, he may sacrifice many of the pleasures. For example, other children are going for playing, they're watching movies, they're watching games, they're playing. So a student who is very focused, he may stop doing these activities and he focus fully on his studies. So this austerity is required for success even in material world, right? So similarly, whatever path we are embarking in the spiritual life is also not anyway easy task, right? It's not easy to completely become purified in one lifetime. So that is why austerity is required actually for increasing our determination. And second thing is that by doing